Hi again, everyone. I'm the Cantankerous Collector. This is episode number 31. Before I start, Death by Buffalo is my eBay store. Death by Buffalo. I sell a lot of pop culture and comic book related stuff on there. So this is just a real quick episode. Um, a lot of us collectors and a lot of us art collectors like to commission artists to draw particular characters or whatever. You meet a lot of these artists at comic conventions or online, and there's a specific artist whose work I had been watching. A lot of his commission stuff has been posted, and he's done some really cool stuff. His name is Bob Hall. He's in his late 70s, and he's worked for Marvel Comics, Valiant Comics. He's done work for DC, and he's been doing, I think, work for Marvel and DC up until just a few years ago. I don't know if he has anything going on there now, but he takes commissions, and it's a lot of fun to, suggest to the artist what you want, and you pay him, and then you kind of wait for it, and you get it, and you're like, wow. And sometimes it can be hit and miss. Sometimes you're like overwhelmed, like, oh, this is cool. And sometimes, the artist will do something maybe, you know, you weren't planning, for him to do. I mean, you always want to give the artist details of what you want. I usually like to let the artist kind of do his thing, but, occasionally I'll give him a couple of details to follow and stuff. But so I was familiar with Bob Hall back in the 70s. He worked on the Champions comic book that I liked when I was a kid. I was buying that monthly or whenever it would come out. It kept getting delayed and stuff. But he worked for Marvel in the 70s and 80s, and he worked as a writer, an artist, and an editor. He worked on Supervillain Team Up. He did a lot of Avengers work. I think he did some cover work, and to me, I think his best cover was Amazing Spider-Man number 237 with Stiltman. I thought that was an awesome cover with his pencils and Ed Hannigan's inks. He also did a really cool cover when I was collecting from Marvel Team Up number 75 with Spider-Man and Luke Cage, Power Man. Very cool art. So I've seen some of the work he's done for commissions, and he's done some drawings that were really cool. And in fact, I mean, if the sellers ever put those up for sale, I'd love to get them. There's a couple of specific drawings he did of characters that they're not A-list Marvel characters, but they're really cool characters from my childhood. And he did just a great job of drawing them and whatever backgrounds he puts in. And they'll charge you more. If you want it colored, or if you want, the penciled work inked, or how many characters. I mean, there's a steps on what they charge you, and he does commissions through Catskill Comics online. So that's where I ordered my commission. But before that, I bought this that he did. This was on Catskill Comics, and I don't know if this was a commission that he did for someone or just a drawing that he was working on, but I thought this was just awesome. This is Conan the Barbarian, and I'll be the first to admit I'm not the biggest Conan fan. I never bought Conan when I was a kid. It just, I don't know. I mean, I had limited funds and stuff, so a lot of my money went to the superhero comic book stuff, but I rarely bought his stuff. But I would look at the covers, and he was a cool character. I always thought he was cool. But it's strange because some of my best collectibles in my collection are Conan stuff, whether it be art or sculpture. They're some of my favorite pieces, and they're of Conan, who, like I said, I never really followed very much. I thought this was great. I'd like to color this. I'm not a good colorist. Um, but I would love to scan this in and color this kind of like Barry Windsor Smith used to color with those really crazy colors. He would like color with like colors you wouldn't think you'd use on like Conan's flesh. He'd put blue or purple on there, just really wild stuff. And uh, I'd kind of like to take a shot at this because when I color stuff, I do the standard. Well, the flesh is a peach color, maybe darker than my white ass, but the fur is probably going to be brown. The rocks are going to be brown or gray. The sky's going to be blue. But I look at some of these artists and they go really crazy with the colors, and it always looks really cool. Maybe someday I'll do that. I'll attempt to color this. So I bought this a couple years ago. Last year, I decided to commission him, and um, I told him I wanted Hercules, and I wanted him. I just made a couple specifications. I said that I wanted him in his costume that he wore on Champions #1, which is like one of my favorite all-time covers by Gil Kane and Dan Adkins. And it could have been any costume he wore, probably prior to that also. Uh, I just didn't want him like they draw him in pants now, and Hercules never wore pants. When I was reading, so it looks I don't know. He looks kind of silly in pants. So I didn't want that. I wanted something older, uh, from like the 60s or 70s. And the Champions art is some of my favorite. I also requested that he draws them kind of in action. I don't know if I said pissed off, but kind of, I wanted him to look tough, not like some douche nozzle. I got this back a few weeks later, and I was really happy with it. And he even put a background in there, which he didn't have to, but it's awesome. And I was so happy with this. So this is Hercules from Bob Hall. Yeah, boy. I mean, that is awesome. It's so cool. I mean, he's definitely about to kick some serious ass. And he's got his, what's it called, a mace, or I can't remember what they called it, but he's got that little club in his hand. I was really happy with this, and it's cool because these guys, they're older, and it's cool that they're still at their drawing desks, producing really cool artwork. And I like to help support them and stuff like that. And it's a blast to get this. Like you never know what you're gonna get. I've had some commissions that weren't all that great. They were okay, but this thing, when I saw this, man, I'm like, that's boss. That's real boss. So very happy. Thought I would share that with everybody. Anyways, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.